Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one, Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Good evening, Cavs fans, and welcome to another edition of the Block, the Shot, the Stop. Here with Tim Daniel, I am Kevin Lynch to talk about the Cavs drumming of the New York Knicks on national TV tonight, 124-105. We're going to get to all of it, but if I didn't say at the top, we are a Cavaliers podcast that come to you after every game, brought to you by the Blue Wire Network. This is our 98th episode, 36 straight episodes, curse word free, so do not hesitate about putting us on in front of the kids. Tim, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that second half. This was really a game of two halves. The Cavs looked off in the first half for some reason. You kind of wonder that this is after a full month or over a month worth of like the schedule working against the Cavs. It actually worked in their favor tonight. The Knicks are coming off a back-to-back in New York, traveled in late, and you kind of thought the Cavs might come out and just run them out of the gym right away. It was kind of the opposite story in the first half, but that is what happened in the second half. So what do you think the differences were? Why did the Cavs come out so sluggishly, and then why were they able to kind of bury the Knicks there in the second half?
I know this is going to sound really dumb because there's two sides of basketball, but they locked in and played defense. I feel like when they have this thing here where we talked about this, when they struggle, it's when the defense is bad. When they have these losing streaks, they've had these like 2 or 3 game skids that we've been frustrated about. It's when they're not playing defense very well. When they're playing defense really well, we see the team we've seen win over 60 games. They're at 62 now, 61, 62, something like that. But that's kind of been the big difference. So in the first half, I mean, New York comes out hot. They hit 8 of their first 10 threes, and OG Anunoby's pump faking people and getting them out of their shoes and getting layups, which I like OG Anunoby, don't get me wrong, but he should not be doing that against guys like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And it's just like this switch they flip defensively where they get more aggressive, they get more physical, they don't give you much space. I mean, they did play a lot of their zone, don't get me wrong. And when when they have that zone, they're a team that just sits in zone. They kind of just like pick and choose their spots to use it for a couple minutes at a time. As we know through the season, we've seen them do it. But tonight, I feel like their zone was really effective. And they also found a way that it's almost like they let Cat catch the ball at the nail. And then they attacked him there and made him make a decision of either try to shoot over Mobley and Allen or pass the ball out.
You're 100% right. And I was actually just getting some numbers to back up your claim about finally locking in on defense there that second half. After, let's be honest, we've been in a stretch where the Cavs haven't been playing very good defense most of the time. Even as they won 3 of their last 4 coming in tonight, now 4 or 5 after tonight. But to kind of give stats to like back up what you were saying, first half, Knicks scored 60 points on 60% shooting. As you said, Anunoby had 19 points in the first half. He only averages 18, though his scoring has gone up recently with Brunson out. And then the second half, they limit the Knicks to 45 points and 31% shooting, even worse shooting from 3. And you're right. I mean, and not only did they lock down defensively, but I feel like they got out in transition so much.
Yes.
The most I'd seen them out in transition in a long time. Lots of steals tonight. Lots of breakaways. Isaac Okoro was just
fast break dunk. Isaac Okoro.
Yeah, Jared Allen was really, really good. They only had 8 steals. They had 8 steals. I shouldn't say only, but it felt like even more than that they had. It was probably all in the second half. They had quite a bit of runouts. So all that's to say, you're 100% right. Tale of two halves, especially defensively, but then even offensively, after I would say having uneven offensive performances of late, the second half was about as good as they've looked offensively in a while.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that, Kevin. Obviously Mitchell just having another one of these games where we go through these ups and downs with him where we're disappointed in some of his performances, but tonight he was unbelievable. And how he played in that second half, just the thing about him is just his innate ability to create space is obviously one thing, but it's just like when the lights come on, it's like you really need the Cavs to put a game together. He just does it, right, man? He's just so good at when the moment hits that he's going to figure it out. And I know that's so cliche to say about a really good NBA player who's going to be first team All NBA this year. But 27 points tonight and just looked unstoppable in stretches in the second half. I just, his lead there was great. And then you already mentioned Jared Allen being awesome tonight. It makes me laugh because last week we got crapped on for talking about how well he played against Bismack Biyombo. And this week he does that against Karl Anthony Towns and Precious Achiuwa and the New York Knicks, who are the 4 seed or the 5 seed, probably. So, if stats matter about against your competition, then tonight was a pretty good Jared Allen night.
Absolutely. And we'll get to individual performances in a second, but this game as a whole, I think, the NBA season, like a lot of things, it's a war of attrition, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to lose some battles along the way, and you have to be okay with that. And, come back the next day, try and be as consistent as possible, all those things. I thought tonight was a night the Cavs are like, this is a battle we don't want to lose. Mm-hmm. And I can relate because I want to tell you about my Cavs viewing experience tonight. You're going to love this. So
first off, can we mention you're in not so beautiful South Bend, Indiana?
Yes. So I'm in South Bend, Indiana, quick work trip just for one night. And I'm like, this is so awesome. I'm going to go down to the gym and watch the game while I have a workout. It sounds like something very simple, but as a dad of a young kid, a wife that's 9 months pregnant, not something you get to do a lot, right? So I'm down there. First of all, the satellite goes out because there's a tornado warning here. So I had to stop my workout and watch about half of the second quarter on my phone. Then it finally comes back on and I'm watching it. And one other guy comes in, no big deal. But this guy is grunting as if he's in the world championship of weightlifting but he's using 25-pound weights.
Heck yeah.
And so I kept grabbing the remote and kept turning the volume up on the game. And then he kept grunting louder. And I turn up, he grunts louder. Finally, I pulled out, I have 2 phones because of a work phone. I pull up both phones, put the game on both phones at full volume. So I have the TV at full volume, both of my phones at full volume. And the guy, I think that kind of snapped in. He's like, oh, and he stopped making noise and then shortly thereafter left. And so just like the Cavs, it's like, I'm not losing this battle. I'm going to get to work out and listen to this game. And the Cavs are like, this is a battle we don't want to lose. This is a team in the New York Knicks that you would think is someone they could very well face in the playoffs. Someone who, if you just looked at the rosters, you would think would present as a bad matchup for the Cavs. But the Cavs have owned them this year. And they wanted to just kind of drive home that, this team does not have a chance to beat us. And we want to give you another example of why that is tonight and really, kind of make the Knicks, I would guess, not very confident at all if they do have to come up against the Cavs in the playoffs.
Yeah, especially, if you're the Knicks, you probably finally feel like you got off the schneid there for a bit, right? You've got a 15-point lead on them. You're balling. You're making everything. You got the Cavs break. They can't focus on defense. Evan Mobley's not a factor. Darius Garland's barely handling the ball in the half court where he's so good. You're the Knicks. You're like, we got them. We finally got them where we want them. Not so much. Second half, Cleveland kind of turns it around on them and just kind of takes over the game. It was such a really fun performance to watch in that sense. And I think what's really great about the Cavs when they play to this level is just that it's in baseball, when a team just it's just constantly in a groove, like the Yankees the other day when they hit 20 home runs. They scored 20 runs. It felt like they hit 20 home runs, where it's you just pass the bat to the next guy is what it feels like they're doing. The Cavs were just and it's not even my turn, your turn. It's just hey, I made a 3. Do you want to make one now too? Do you want to get to the lay? And they're just moving the ball around everybody. And it's just when they do that, they're just so difficult to beat. And it feels like they kind of got, they played really rough there for a bit, that West Coast trip, obviously. And I'm probably just rambling here, but I feel like the guy got their mojo back.
Skylar and I were talking about that after the Clippers game on Sunday, that it feels like they're getting their swagger back. First and foremost, Donovan Mitchell getting his swagger back, and that kind of reverberating through the whole team. The other reason I really didn't want to lose this game is because, the Cavs had what felt like every scheduled disadvantage for over a month. And this was the first time they had a true schedule advantage. They had 2 days off for the first time since like mid-February, third week of February, I think. They were at home. They've been at home for 5 days or something now. And the Knicks played in New York last night, flew in late nights and then had to play a back-to-back. And they're already shorthanded. They're missing all three of their point guards. And so I was like, this is a game you can't lose if you're the Cavs, because you're the better team to start. Second of all, you have all these advantages going into the game. And so even when the Knicks were kind of outplaying the Cavs in the first half, one, I didn't know if the shooting was sustainable. And two, I didn't know if the Knicks would have the legs to keep this going. And the one thing the Cavs did do in the first half, I don't know if you noticed this, they picked up full court almost every time.
Love it.
And just because they're rested, the Knicks aren't. The Knicks don't have their regular point guards. So they really, even when they weren't playing well in the first half, the impact that they were making was they're wearing this Knicks team down. And you could tell the Knicks had no legs in the second half. Like Karl Anthony Towns looked like he was running on a treadmill. Like I never knew if he was going to like actually make it to the other end of the floor back and forth. So with that, we can get into the individual performances. And even though you teased it, we should talk about Donovan Mitchell. I know you already spoke to the 27 points. I love, and this is another thing we point out the last couple of shows, the intangibles he's doing. Like he's like over his average every game in assists and rebounds for going on 2 weeks now. And the hustle plays, like I saw him not only get rebounds, but go in and get contested rebounds where he has to like jump to his apex and get it over a bigger guy. He had 3 blocks tonight. When do you think the last time Donovan Mitchell had it? I don't know where I could look this up, but when he had 3 blocks in a game, just like digging in defensively like that. And I really think Skylar said it really well on Sunday is you want your players to play like this all the time. You want your leaders to play like this all the time. But when it's your leader doing it at a time where your team is struggling, that makes a little bit, extra effect on the rest of the team and kind of pulls them out of this little funk that they were in.
Do you think so? 2 funny Tim jokes here, of course, not really funny to me. Basketball nerd stuff. 1, do you think Donovan Mitchell was the one that suggested the press, considering who his college basketball coach was?
I doubt it. I don't know if there's a star player in the NBA that would suggest we press.
That's true. But 2, also, the last time he had 3 blocks was his coach, Rick Pitino. Because he was all big. Yeah. He was all defense in college. Like Donovan Mitchell was an all-conference defensive player, so he has it in him. But no, it's just certainly him being the guy that you can rely on, that is going to show up and make plays for you. It just it brings a different element to the Cavaliers. And some of the things he did tonight, so you mentioned just kind of not necessarily 50-50 balls. I'm sure people are tired of me talking about that, but they matter. But like you said, just like forcing himself to get rebounds over, Precious Achiuwa, over guys like that, really stood out. And then also just kind of getting in his bag a little more to make space. So he has that one really cool Euro step that he turns into a floater at one point where he just like pulls the ball over and just like gets the floating shot. And like that kind of felt like it was like, oh, it's going to be one of those Donovan Mitchell halves. So just really, really fun to kind of see him have those nights. And like you said, like when he is doing that, they're near unbeatable. They're just near unbeatable.
Yeah, absolutely. One other guy I want to highlight again, we teased it, but Jared Allen. I thought Jared was awesome tonight. There seems to be a little bit, I don't think there's a lot of division with Cavs fans this year, but if there is, it's on Jared Allen, it seems. Like there is a portion of the fan base that think the Cavs are better off like not playing Jared Allen at all or very little. There's a large portion of the fan base that think he's an integral part to the team, as do you and I. My feeling is he's a fantastic player that you lean on him in all, but there's like 2 or 3 teams that are a bad matchup and that you reduce his minutes. We've talked about Boston's a big one. And so I think, in a few matchups, teams that play small and have big wings that like give him a little bit of trouble because he wants to play defense on the inside. He doesn't want to chase people around the wing. That if you have one of those matchups and you reduce his minutes and maybe don't have him and Mobley on the floor together quite as much, that I understand. But for the most part, on a night like tonight, he was He was 21-8 on 91% shooting. Even though Karl Anthony Towns had a good game statistically wise, I can tell you right now, Karl Anthony Towns does not want to see Jared Allen again.
Jared, for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jared gave him everything he could handle, made Karl work for those. He ended up with 25 and 13. Sorry, I didn't update for the last couple of minutes there, but and a really good statistical game for Karl Anthony Towns. But he ended up on the floor so many times tonight. You could tell how exhausted he was, especially by the fourth quarter. Jared Allen just had him locked up, and that's when he had that really big block shot on him. He had the steal on Cat, and I just thought Jared Allen, Jared Allen is always solid, occasionally spectacular, and tonight was one of those games where he was really, really good.
He was terrific, and it wasn't just the fact he put in 21 points. I feel like for him, he kind of dictated the second half, where maybe he's not being relied on as much to score as Mitchell was, or even DeAndre Hunter was. But when they have these defensive efforts, like we talked about, this difference in who they are defensively, a lot of it is obviously Mobley. Allen's right there too. I mean, the Cavaliers have no fear whatsoever about switching their bigs to guard the perimeter. And that's not just Mobley, but Allen's that same way. He's not as good at it as Evan Mobley is, but he doesn't ever lack effort at it. And then also kind of some of the situations too with him that really stand out is they're going to need his rim protection in some of these playoff series. So if you go down the line of teams Boston's a bad matchup for him. We know that. The Knicks, we saw it tonight. You can use me against the Knicks. The Pacers, if Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, you're going to need him in that if you have to play them. Detroit, we've always seen that. Milwaukee, obviously, depending whatever's going on with Giannis and if he's playing or not playing, you never know anymore. And then all the play-in teams, I think those are all good matchups for him. By the way, shout out the fact that we might play Karras and George in the first round, the way things are looking right now. But that's for down the road. For him, I think just some of the things he does, his ability to just attack the rim offensively, to protect the rim defensively. That block he had today when he full on Mutombo'd was incredible. This is when, for the people who don't want Jared Allen, okay, let's sit him. Let's see how it looks in a playoff series when they don't have Jared Allen out there, and we'll see how much he's really missed.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I need to do a side note. I've been kicking myself I did not say this the last couple of podcasts, right? But you brought up Georges Niang. Shout out Georges Niang. This happened a couple of games ago. I was tracking it, and then when it actually happened, I missed it. It was 2 games ago against San Antonio when Darius Garland committed, I think, his first foul of the game. Was the first time that Georges Niang did not lead the Cavaliers in fouls this year, despite the fact that he was not on the team the last 21 games. So shout out Georges. He gets his money's worth, and we wish him well. Unless that matchup does happen that you kind of led to. The other thing I want to highlight, and this isn't really an individual player as much as the Cavs bench, which was primarily 3 guys tonight, and Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, and Isaac Okoro with a couple other guys out. A couple other guys played a little bit here and there, and then they brought in the Cavalry with 2 minutes left. But those 3 guys, Merrill, Hunter, and Okoro, all had really good individual numbers, all had really good plus minuses. But the thing I wrote down, they were all integral. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I went back and looked it up. The last 3 to 4 minutes of each quarter, and I say 3 to 4 minutes because there's always a media timeout, sometime under 4 minutes, right? And so from that media timeout to the end of the quarter, this is what happened those 3 quarters. In the first quarter, last 3 minutes, Cavs outscore the Knicks 13-7. Second quarter, 10-2. Third quarter, 10-3. That's a total of 33-12. They outscored the Knicks in the last 3 minutes of the first 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, it was non-competitive by the last 3 minutes, so I didn't bother tracking that. But as key as it was that the second half, how much outplayed them and had the Cavalanche, and that's super exciting. They were only within striking distance because they closed quarters so well tonight. And a lot of that was the contributions of those three guys coming off the bench. So just want to mention that. And I don't know if you want to touch on the three of them as a whole or any of them individually.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you make the mention, especially it's really impressive because this is the fourth straight game they didn't have Ty Jerome. And Kenny did say if this were a playoff game, he would play, but they just want to be precautionary to get him ready to keep him as healthy as possible for the postseason. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. Yeah, man, we've talked about DeAndre Hunter since he came to the team. He's just been terrific and just kind of he's had like 3 bad games, maybe 2, maybe I'm over exaggerating.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he's been so good for this team. And the night we were in the arena against Portland, I feel like he couldn't miss. He was so good that night. But Merrill, the fact that he's just doing this thing for full 2-way for this team is so nice and just kind of gives them like a little bit of a breather. And then Isaac Okoro tonight, you mentioned the steals. I talked about the fast break dunk. We were talking about the fact that man was eating glass tonight. He was all over the board. 6 rebounds tonight. Just constant effort. Had the afro out tonight.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that hair. Like I was
he Ben Wallacing it?
I was channeling my inner Mark Jackson. What did I say? Like hairs out, show out, something like that. That's something Mark Jackson would say. And Isaac certainly had a game showing out tonight.
Yeah. Hey, our guy, Amani Bates, got a 3 tonight.
Yeah. Dude, that was going to be my last player shout out was Bates and Tomlin both played 2 minutes and got up 3 shots each. Like
Buddy,
you get yours.
You get your money's worth, baby. That's right. When Amani Bates come in the game, you know what time it is.
Yeah. So we can probably put a bow on the Knicks game and we'll preview the upcoming games, but we do have breaking news, Tim.
Did you see it?
I did. Tonight, the Miami Heat defeat the Boston Celtics 124-103, breaking what seems like in the Garden, what seems like a never-ending win streak for the Celtics, and brings the magic number to at least 2, possibly 1. Yeah. So it's 2. I think it's 2 right now, but with the next Cavs win against an Eastern Conference team or Boston lost against the Eastern Conference team, they'll clinch a tiebreaker, which will reduce it to 1. So tonight is a huge night in kind of putting away this last-ditch effort of the Celtics to get the number one seed in the East. Certainly looks like the Cavs are going to be able to hold on after being there all season. And thank you, Miami. Heat culture.
Heat culture, baby.
We love you. We love you for one night.
So looking at Boston's schedule the rest of the year, their next Eastern Conference game is on Sunday at 6:00. They play the Wizards. And then actually the game on Friday against Phoenix is their last Western Conference game of the year. So they go Washington at home. Then they go the Knicks on the road, the Magic on the road, and they're home for their last 2 against Charlotte. So with that, just you kind of have an idea. I'm sure you already know our listeners, but the Cavs, obviously, their final stretch of the season is at San Antonio versus Sacramento, home versus Chicago, at the Pacers, on national TV, at New York on. So have a chance to sweep them if they have to. Might be a chill out, max and relax, no cool game, and then end the season next Sunday against the Indiana Pacers at home. And we do know, too, that if things go the way we all expect it, which is the Cavaliers being the 1 seed, because it's going to be very hard to give it up at this point, game 1 of the postseason will be on Easter Sunday, April 20th.
Yes. What a way to spend Easter, especially for a bunch of dads that talk Cavs.
I got a Reds game that day. There's Baltimore. I got that, and it's WrestleMania. Yeah. My Easter is booked.
One of the 3 of us is sleeping on the couch that day. We just don't know which one yet. But yeah, with the schedule, it's been well documented. Boston has been on an absolute tear the last few weeks. I believe they're 14-1 in their last 15 coming into the night before the loss to the Heat. And this is why you build the lead that the Cavs did, right? Because
that's right.
Boston is really, really good. They are the defending champions and are just about as good as they were last year. At least they got everybody back, and they've been playing that well for a good, 4, 5, 6 weeks now. And so all that work that the Cavs did at the beginning of the year allowed them to have not even a slide, just like a the smallest of potholes. Like I went back and looked, and I feel like we reacted a lot in March because March was their worst month, right, of the season. But they were still 11-5, which is on pace for like a 55, 56 wins in a season. It would have been, there's only, I think, 3 or 4 teams that are going to get to 56 wins. So for any other team, that's a very good month for them. It was just happened to be the Cavs' worst month, and we're comparing them instead against, the NBA, we're comparing them against what they did the first 4 months. So I do think, myself included, maybe overreacted a little bit. I think we properly reacted to, even though they went 11-5, they were definitely struggling, particularly defensively and 3-point shooting. I think that's valid. They still, for as well as they played tonight, they still shot poorly from 3, which is kind of getting to the point of concerning that's been so consistently bad for a while. But all that's to say, we as a Cavs nation are in a very good place, and hopefully by the end of the weekend, we have the number 1 seed wrapped up and can kind of be very strategic with the last 4 games to kind of play everybody just enough to not rust, but get the rest they need.
Do we pop champagne when they clinch? Do we do it?
I don't know if you want to. Yeah. We can.
But I want to further your point before we get to the Spurs game real quick, if you don't mind. You mentioned it. 5 losses in March. They had 5 losses in March. They had 5 losses in January. That's 10. They've had 15 losses the whole season.
Right.
It's been a pretty great year.
It is a pretty great year. And I'm going to make a prediction right now. The Cavs on Sunday are going to have clinched the number 1 seed for a couple of reasons. One, because I want them to. Number 2, Sunday will be the Block the Shot that Stops 100th episode.
Hell yeah.
A monumental thing. And so let's have so Sunday night, we're going to plan on a celebration, celebrating 100 episodes, thanking everybody who supported us and let us get to this point. And the Cavs having the number 1 seed locked up. So go ahead, put that in pencil for Sunday night. We'll throw it on the socials. We'll make sure we do a live right after the game and hopefully be in celebration mode.
Yeah, I also want to make sure I make mention real quick as well. Kevin and I did obviously discuss the brackets, and currently right now I am in the lead in the guest. If I do win, I will not be taking tickets from somebody. So if I am the winner, which I don't think I will be, it never works out that way for me. There's no way I'm like winning our own contest. So if you're second place to me, you win.
Yeah, that was kind of a gentleman's agreement all along. Even if we didn't play in the playoffs, we just wanted to play to be a part of it. But we're not going to claim any of the prizes. We'll take ourselves out of the running for that.
For sure.
Before we get out of here, real quick preview. As we said, is it Friday night? They next game against San Antonio in San Antonio. These teams just matched up like a week and a half ago. It was a competitive game that the Cavs ended up winning 124-116. That night was kind of one of the first games that Mitchell started his breakout. That was maybe his best game of the year. 25 points, 14 assists, 8 rebounds, just did everything for the Cavs that night. Ironically, much like tonight, Jared Allen was also spectacular that night with 29 points, 15 rebounds. And several other guys that contributed. There was no Mobley in that game. The Spurs, I have not checked their injury reports, but they've had pretty much everybody
it now,
out.
actually.
Yeah. They have, we talked about it in the preview we did for them, recently, that they have a lot on the roster that are playing right now. They have a lot of really good role players, but they're missing their 2 stars. So the team just doesn't kind of fit right now. That doesn't mean that they can't give the Cavs trouble. They obviously gave them a game. The Cavs that first matchup were favored by 14 and only won by 8. So you Tim, tell us injury report. Any thoughts on the Spurs game on Friday?
So currently tonight they're playing the Denver Nuggets, and they're obviously, we know they're out Wembanyama, they're out De'Aaron Fox. We know that obviously. Tonight add Keldon Johnson, Charles Bassey, Jeremy Sohan, and Devin Vassell. All out tonight. And Charles Bassey's for rest, so whatever. But Keldon Johnson is dealing with back soreness. Jeremy Sohan also dealing with back pains, and Devin Vassell also dealing with back pains. So
that sounds like a tanking injury report.
That sure sounds like a tanking injury report.
You put the aches and pains that you can't really prove anyone is having or not. Like you back pains, really underrated ones like migraines. Because how are you gonna how are you gonna combat someone saying they have migraines? But
all of a sudden they're wearing those like glasses that Dwayne Wade had to wear when he had his. Like,
yeah, the Spurs have kind of shifted into not full on tanking, but certainly kind of not focusing as much on competing with their two stars out. They were in the mix for the play-in for a lot of the season, and then have tailed off when they've been missing really as soon as Wembanyama went out, and then shortly thereafter De'Aaron Fox did. So certainly expect a Cavs victory tonight on Friday nights. I think it'll be an advantageous matchup, and again, it would be great to put this one away and then be on the cusp of that number 1 seed.
Yeah, so right now the Spurs are coming into this game losing 5 in a row, including the loss to Cleveland. They got beat by Detroit by 1,000, got beat by Boston by 10, got beat by Golden State by 40, and then lost to Orlando by 11. Let me see what's going on real quick in their game currently with the Denver Nuggets. It is they're up 12 on the Nuggets right now.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, can't imagine that's last.
Right. Well, we can wrap this up. Great night for the Cavs. That second half was the best they have looked in a long time. Even if we did maybe overrate their struggles, they hadn't looked that good in a while. And so it was really good to see them play that well, even if it was only for a half on national TV against, a top seeded team, even if the Knicks are somebody they match up really well against. And yeah, now they're on the doorstep again. Thanks to Miami, we're 2 away with 6 to play. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
So any other thoughts before we get out here, Tim?
Go Suns on Friday.
Yeah.
Can't believe I had to say that sentence.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. We did it again. Now officially 37 episodes, curse word free. So
just us, right? Because I think when we had Jason on, he dropped an accidental F-bomb.
That was the last one.
Okay. All right.
That's the episode I went back to. So for Tim Daniel, for Skylar Webker, and for me, Kevin Lynch, and the people at Blue Wire, thanks as always for listening. And as always,